Hey guys, what's going on? I'm gonna have to heavily edit this down because I'm sick, so I'm gonna be coughing a lot, so I do apologize for that if I do forget to edit it out. Anyway, so what I want to talk about today is the Game Awards is happening tomorrow, and there's been a lot of speculation regarding whether or not we're going to get a character for the 5th DLC pass for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate revealed there. I'm on the train that we absolutely are going to see a character revealed there because it's very close to the anniversary of Super Smash Bros.'s release on December 7th, which is when the previous Game Awards was hosted, and the first DLC character was shown there in the previous year, so coming full circle for the final character makes sense. I think that what they're probably going to do is just reveal the character here, and then during a direct sometime in January or February, they're going to drop them the day of the direct, and then have one of those Sakurai, showcases the character in real time. So I think that's what they're going to go for. And like I said, sorry if my voice sounds, kind of poopy, but, I'm a little sick. Anyway, so before the Game Awards happens tomorrow, I just wanted to get my thoughts out of the way about who I think are possible contenders for the DLC, and who I think are the most likely, who I think aren't going to be shown, as well as why. If I don't do the video now, I'm never going to be able to do it, so I'm doing it now. So when it comes to talking about characters that I think are going to be very likely to happen within the 5th DLC, there's a few things that I have to put down as I think ground rules for the inclusion for these characters. The first thing, and I think the thing that most people can agree on, is that I believe the character is going to be a third party. Every single character that we've received thus far for the DLC pack has been a third party character. So I believe that this trend is going to continue. In one of the more recent directs that Sakurai was in, he emphasized a focus on introducing new worlds, so that can imply more third-party characters. So I think it's just a safe assumption that this last character is going to be a third party as well. And now for things that might not be set in stone, but I do have my reasons for thinking them. And that is that I think the character that we're going to see is going to be a more modern character rather than a retro character. So, I don't think we're going to get, a Banjo, Geno age character. I know that Geno is very topical for people to talk about because he's been requested for so long, but I'm not sure that someone like Geno is someone that anyone watching the Game Awards, other than Nintendo fans, are going to recognize. So even though I have nothing against Geno, I don't pine for Geno, but I have nothing against him, and if he's included, I'll be excited. I don't think that Geno's the kind of character to show at the Game Awards that doesn't have, because the Game Awards doesn't just have Nintendo fans there, it has fans from all different kinds of fan bases, PlayStation, Xbox, PC. So showing someone that's very specific to a Nintendo brand when you're trying to advertise across other platforms, across other audiences to try and get people to cross the aisle, I don't think it's going to be effective. So it needs to be, at the very least, a modern character that everyone at the Game Awards can recognize. And the last rule that I have is that, and I'll explain this, I think that the character that will be included will come from a game that their most recent installment is not featured on a Nintendo system. And to explain my thought process on that, wouldn't that make it less likely, right? So I understand where the objection might come. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Joker's reveal at the previous Game Awards, which I thought was fantastic. Persona 5 has only appeared on non-Nintendo consoles, and the kind of audience that would watch or attend the Game Awards during the year it was nominated for Game of the Year and care for Persona 5 are going to be people who played it, and obviously people who played it are going to be people who own other systems. Now, consider that there is a large base of people that usually only buy one console for that generation and don't buy any others. So there's a lot of people who played Persona 5 and like Joker, but didn't buy a Nintendo Switch. So the Joker reveal was an amazing time to advertise to that kind of player base and convince them to cross the aisle and buy a Switch in order to play Joker in Smash. And I feel that this kind of approach in terms of character choice will be taken again due to the kind of audience in attendance being made up of, think of the people who are attending the Game Awards, coming from all kinds of different audiences. So for that reason, I also think that in addition to being a modern character, it's very likely to be a character whose game hasn't actually appeared on Nintendo systems yet, or at the very least, the most recent game featuring them in their most recent iteration hasn't been featured on a Nintendo system. So that's my 3 rules. Like I said, third party is also really important because all of the characters have been third party. And with that said, I'm just going to go straight into the 3 characters that I think are the absolute most likely to be revealed at the Game Awards tomorrow. And that is either Dante, 2B, or Sora. I think all 3 of these characters fit the description very well. Regarding characters that have had their most recent installments on non-Nintendo consoles, Nier Automata is available on PS4, Xbox, and PC. Kingdom Hearts 3 is available on PlayStation and Xbox, and Devil May Cry 5 is available on PS5, Xbox, and PC. Did I say PS5? I meant to say PlayStation 4. Whatever. Now, when it comes to Dante, I know there are probably some people who would say, you know, from Capcom's point of view, they might actually decide to put Monster Hunter over Dante. But I'm not on that boat because Monster Hunter, like, I've never played Monster Hunter, but my understanding is that the game is mostly popular for its gameplay, not necessarily the main playable character being super iconic, even though the franchise itself is iconic. So when I think about Smash Brothers, when I think about a roster of iconic characters, I just think that Dante is more recognizable and iconic than the Monster Hunter itself, even if people like Monster Hunter more as a whole than Devil May Cry 5, if that makes any sense. Now, some people might say that Rex and Pyra might make the DLC. Again, I disagree for reasons that should be obvious. I don't think that, because for this first 5 DLC, you have the Season Pass in which you can buy all the characters as a whole together, and the incentive for buying the pass as a whole as opposed to individually is the Rex Mii Fighter costume. So it would make no sense to me for the incentive of buying the pass as a whole be a Mii Fighter for a character who is in the pass. I absolutely do think that we're going to get Rex and Pyra in the future DLC. I think that that would be a humongous mistake if they don't do that. And I don't think that they're going to, considering that Rex and Pyra were so overwhelmingly popular and requested for the game that Sakurai literally had to go out of his way to say, yeah, they're not in the game because of time constraints. That I think that they will be in the game in the future, but I don't think it's going to happen as this next character that's going to be revealed tomorrow. Now I want to talk a little bit about, of the 3, which one I think is the most likely. And for me, I think that's going to be 2B. And the reason I think it's going to be 2B is, first and foremost, because she's female. Now, I'm not saying that, they have to have female characters included into the game. I'm just saying that I think at some point they will. And I think, some people might say, well, they don't have to do a female character now, they can do a female character in the future. And to that, my objection is, we don't exactly know what Sakurai knew when he was choosing the first 5 DLC characters. Because, let me put it into perspective for you. If Sakurai knew that these first 5 DLC characters weren't going to be the only ones that he was going to make, then yes, then this next character doesn't have to be a female. It could be any character in the future DLC. But if we act on the assumption that at first, when Sakurai was choosing both the initial roster and the DLC roster for the first 5 DLC, if we assume that for a time he didn't know he was going to work on more characters beyond the first 5, then there was a point in time where this last character, this 5th character, that Sakurai thought that they were going to be the last one he was going to make. And I find it really improbable that among what Sakurai would have thought would have been the only 5 characters he was going to make as DLC, that he wouldn't have included a single female. Now, some people might say, oh, Kazooie is a girl, but I don't consider Banjo-Kazooie to be female character any more than I consider Nano and Popo to be a female character. That doesn't make any fucking sense. So I think that female representation is really important for the Smash Bros. DLC, and I think that if Sakurai was under the impression that these first 5 DLC characters he was making were going to be the only ones at some point, then he would have thought to include a female probably at some point, and it makes the most sense to do it now. In addition to her being a female, this is something I figured out recently that a friend of mine told me. I don't know how much weight there is to this, if this is even true, but apparently the owner for the rights to 2B Yoko Taro, is apparently really good friends with Sakurai, so that's another thing going for them. So I just think that it makes the most sense to have 2B there, because she's modern, she hasn't appeared on a Nintendo console before, so for cross-promotion she's really good. She's still getting ports of her game, like it was only like last year or a few months ago that she got her game ported over to Xbox, so she's still a relevant character. She's third party, she is Square Enix, and so is Sora, but in addition to being Square Enix and having a good relationship with Square Enix, she's also Platinum, and Platinum Games, as we know, have had a character in Smash 4 before in the form of Bayonetta. Now, something else that these 3 characters in total also share is that they all come from action games. Now, some people might say that Sora is more RPG than action game. I don't consider it really that much of an RPG. It's more action game than RPG in my view. But they all come from an action game, to be Sora and Dante. And I think that that's relevant because the Kumbaya reveal for Smash 4 was Bayonetta, someone who comes from an action game. So there's clearly a lot of hype to be generated around that kind of character. And in the current lineup of characters that we've already received, we haven't gotten an action game character yet. We've gotten 2 JRPG characters in the form of Joker and Hero. Then we got a platform character with Banjo. And now we have a fighting game character with Terry Crews. Did I just... Did I just say Terry Crews? I meant to say Terry Bogard. Oh my god. Terry Crews. That's not what I meant to say. I'm sorry. With Terry Bogard. Sorry. Or Bogard, whatever. I'm sick. I don't give a shit about the pronunciation right now. So we haven't had an action game character yet, and considering that the final Kumbaya character for the previous game was an action game character, I think that there is room for another action game character to take, to come to the forefront. Now, some people might try and counteract this by saying, maybe they don't care about the genre of game being represented because there are 2 JRPG characters, so clearly they don't care about overlapping the genres that they've already included because they already have 2 of the same kind of character that come from the same genre, being JRPG, which is a good point. But that would only strengthen the argument for both 2B and Sora because they both come from games that have also been argued to be JRPGs as well as action games. But I think with the rules that I've put into place, I think that these 3 are the most likely characters to bring in the most hype out of all of them. And I think that of the 3, my choice, both from liking the character but also thinking that they're the most realistic, I think that 2B is probably going to be the one from the 3 to be chosen. To be chosen. That wasn't even on purpose. So I think that it's going to be either 2B, Sora, or Dante. They all come from very recent games. They all come from very popular games that sold extraordinarily well. That's going to be popular with the kind of audience that's going to attend. None of them have appeared on Nintendo consoles before, so them being included as DLC and being announced at the Game Awards is going to be amazing cross-promotion for people who play other kinds of consoles. And of course, they're all third-party, so it's going to bring in other install bases as well. So that's my prediction for 2B, Sora, and Dante to be revealed at the Game Awards tomorrow. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'm sorry, like I said, that I'm sick, so I might have sounded like a butt plug on the mic, but that's how it is. So catch you all later. Thank you for watching.